Alright, good, I got one. So this one is almost 1/4 of an inch. This one is about 1/8 of an inch. What was happening was the spindle was getting caught here in the notch, and over here I kind of had to angle it because it started to get caught, so I angled the spindle towards me, and that gave me a good enough angle so it didn't get caught. Fireboard, because this is easier to carve through than something that thick. And this was a hardwood, so if you had to use something like this, I would go with a softwood, making it easier to carve through. But that's as short as I would want that cordage, and that's as short as I would want that spindle. Is roughly 26 inches long, is about 12 inches, which is what we've seen before. So this is a hardwood option, or I shouldn't say a hardwood option. So instead of using a stick like this, not only for the handle but for the spindle, so that you could put your feet on the fireboard, not have to keep it weighted down, this would be an option when rocks or maybe a stick is not the option. But if you can find something like this, you can find something definitely like this. And then you could use a hardwood because you'd want that additional density and weight. This is just a pain to carve through, but the advantage of a stick like this or a log like this that's carved is you don't have to balance those out. So I didn't have to balance that. This is a piece of live oak. You could balance it if you needed to. It's about 3 inches, 3.5 inches thick, roughly. And I didn't have to balance this. I didn't have to balance this, but using a rock like that, I had to balance it because it was jumping out of the socket. And I showed that in the pull drill video. So the pull drill, I showed how to balance the rock. And you could do the same with a log to get a perfect balance, but you don't really need to. I haven't had any issues with these being thrown off by the balance. I just try to get them as even as possible when I cut it. That worked pretty well. I was impressed. I'm going to try another one here in just a second. So what I'm doing right now is I'm carving this fireboard down so that the spindle doesn't get stuck, or it doesn't have too much friction. There we go. So that's good to start with. And you can see we have about 1/4 of an inch left in that fireboard. I'm just hoping this notch here in the front, it's about 1/4 of an inch now. It's about the same as that one. I'm hoping it is not too wide that the spindle's going to get stuck in it. Now, locking this one down because of this piece of wood over here is not as important. I did that because of the other longer piece of wood, kind of like what I did with the bamboo. Was so long that I wanted something to hold the wood down so that it didn't hit my ankles. Could do to prevent some of that. I got to be careful that it doesn't create too many rough areas on the spindle. So I could carve the spindle down some. It'll smooth it out over time. If I have too many right angles here or rough edges that are not perfectly smooth and round, what'll happen is it'll start to create a lot of vibration and shake that powder out of the fireboard. It's raining today too, so that's making it a little bit more difficult. There's so much humidity in the air. To get these coals to form, I have to go a little longer. The only problem with carving this down too small is it'll bore through this fireboard faster. But I already have dust in there, so I'm going to see if I can't get that to ignite. So I'm going to angle that towards me, roll that up, try to get a bunch of rotations quickly. Oh, I broke it. Oh, it broke right there, look. That's all right, but I got a coal. And I think it broke where I carved those notches in. Yeah, it did. So where I had thinned it so that the rope would catch, that's where it broke at. No problem. It'll be easy to make another one. I've done all the hard work by carving this out and carving that. Everything else is just tying it on to a piece of cordage. All right. It's a good chunky coal. Dang, a lot of smoke. But these pump drills are great for people that don't have muscle endurance or having trouble with the technique of a bow drill. Maybe have autoimmune disease where they have problems with their joints, can't get into certain positions. You can put them in a really comfortable position with these pump drills. They are a pain to make. They're a lot more work. But again, if you're just teaching a class and somebody wants a friction fire technique, this is a good way to adapt your course so that anybody can take it regardless of fitness or ability.